There we go. Woo! That trout's fired up.
What's going on, Salt Strong Nation? A couple weeks back, I published a video on some of the best topwater lures for trout right now, and I got a lot of responses from you guys about one specific lure, and that was the Rapala Skitter V. This was a lure that a lot of you claimed was one of your favorites for targeting trout, especially in this late fall, early winter time frame. Now, this is a lure that I have used, and I did not include it in the original list because I have used it a couple times, but not enough to really understand its pros and cons at such a level that I felt it was one of the top lures for trout. So I decided I'd go ahead and use this on some of my more recent trips. And in fact, I wanted to test it up against the Rapala Skitter Walk, which was one that I included on that original list. So I went ahead, took it out, and I wanted to show you guys the results of my first test against the Skitter V and the Rapala Skitter Walk. So let's go ahead and take a look at these results and see how these two stack up against each other.
Oh, it's a red. There we go. Woo! That trout's fired up. Oh my goodness. He came up. Oh my gosh, that was great. There's a bunch of trout on this point. I've had 5 or 6 blow-ups alone. Oh my goodness. Wow. What a hit. What a blow-up. I love topwater. Gosh, this is a nice fish too. Such pretty colors. Definitely a migratory fish. Yeah. Nice trout. Yeah, that's about 20 right there. Yep. Well, you know what we do when we got 20-inch trout? Send them back.
So I was having a little bit of trouble getting the original Skitter Walk to stay on top of the water. The wind was kind of blowing it around and it wasn't making the proper cuts. So I switched to the Skitter V to see if I could have some different results.
Bam! Wow, that was like first cast over there. Hot dog. Tore that up. Feels like a good fish. That Skitter V, my goodness. Yeah, I got really windy, so I switched to the Skitter V. Try and let that fish get back under the water. Oh my, that's a big trout right there. All right, Hambone, come here. Oh my gosh. Wow. What a pretty fish. Huge mouth. Absolutely demolished my topwater. Wow. 23. All right. Back you go. These fish are kind of stacked up on these banks. I'm sure there's some over there, but I'm getting hits over here, so I'm going to continue to stay over here. I switched to this Skitter Walk V just because it's got a little bit better of a cut in the wind. I went from the Spook, as you guys can see down here, to the Skitter Walk. Skitter Walk does perform a little bit better in windier conditions, and then that wasn't even working, so I switched to my Skitter V. So I just like to have a couple of different topwaters that I can adjust to the conditions. Not necessarily saying one's better than the other, but there are some that are going to perform better under different conditions. Ooh. There we go, another one. Oh, brother.
So as you guys saw, the big factor that determined the success with each of the topwaters that I chose was how well it handled the wind. I actually did begin with the Super Spook Junior, as I mentioned in the video, but switched to the Rapala Skitter Walk just because it was handling the wind a little bit better. But once it got super choppy and I knew that those trout were still there, I kept throwing the Skitter Walk and it just didn't seem to handle those waves well. It wasn't sticking to the actual surface of the water, and it was kind of getting picked up by the wind, and it wasn't making the cuts that I needed. So I picked up the Skitter V, which does have this really concave bottom, as you guys can see here. That V pattern that is on the bottom is going to really help that lure stay in the water under choppy conditions, and it was making those really nice cuts that visual predators like trout do a great job of keying in on. I did get the about same amount of strikes, but the actual hookup ratio was better with the Skitter V. Again, I do believe that's because it was able to stay close to the surface of the water because of that V bottom, and it just allowed it to stay under without getting picked up by the wind. So for this first day of testing, I am going to give the win to this Skitter V. Again, it was just an awesome performance by it, but I would not say that it completely blew this original Skitter Walk out of the water. So there is going to be more testing, but I wanted to share these results with you guys so you can kind of see the day-by-day testing and see just the absolute transparency of it, because we're not paid by Rapala or anything, and we really just want to tell you guys what works under what conditions so you know which lures to choose so you can have the most success on the water. And if you do want to pick up these topwaters, we do have them in the Fish Strong shop for 20% off for our salt. And you're not really going to find a better price out there than 20% off of these expensive Rapala lures. So I highly recommend, if you want to grab these guys, you go over to saltstrong.com and pick them up. And if you do want to help yourself become a better angler, I highly recommend you join the insider community, where we have tons of insider knowledge, tips, courses, and species specific information that's going to really help you improve your fishing game. Again, these lures are really helpful in actually drawing the strike, but if you want to actually know where to find bigger and better fish, you're really going to need that insider knowledge that you can only get in the Salt Strong Insider Club. So I hope to see you guys in the community, and thanks again for watching.
There's something about the water that'll give you peace, all by yourself or with your family. Live Salt Strong and wear the line today.